Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short. I'm glad to have you along for our discussion today. Today we're approaching the Easter celebration. No, not the Easter celebration, the Christmas celebration. The Easter celebration will have to wait for a few more months, but the Christmas celebration, and this comes around every December of every year. And what we see in our society is that it's becoming more and more and more and more secular every single year. And we see that trend, and a lot of Christians don't know how to deal with that trend. They don't know how to react to the fact that the holiday that is at the person, Jesus Christ, who is at the center of the Christian faith, is celebrated on December 25th, yet December 25th is becoming less and less about the person who is being celebrated and more about the celebration of the celebration, ironically enough, the celebration of the celebration, as if you had invited someone to their birthday party and you're going to celebrate their birthday party. And increasingly, every year, as your birthday is celebrated, you are pushed in the background, and the celebration of your birthday is pushed in the forefront. So you come to your birthday party, but nothing is about you. There is no acknowledgement of you. There's no specific celebration of the event of your particular birth. It's a general celebration of the celebration. And that's what Christmas has become and is becoming more and more and more. It's about celebrating the celebration of Jesus Christ. So you have a lot of people in our society who are actually not in any way celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, but they're celebrating the celebration of his birth. And when under those conditions, you can actually in theory and in practice, forget about the person about whom you're celebrating. You can actually focus on all of the externals and not focus on the internal. And so as Christians, we have to deal with the fact that our culture has basically abandoned following God, and also has abandoned following the traditional meanings of the celebrations of Christmas and, like I mentioned before, Easter. And so now it's all about, in the Christmas season, it's all about mostly gift giving. It's mostly about shopping. It's mostly about getting and giving things, gifts. And very secondarily, or even third, or further down the list, about the actual Jesus Christ. And so this has to be something that, as Christians, we are aware of, but also not just being aware of it, we need to take note of it and take action to change that trend, at least in our own lives, in our own family's life. Now, we may not be able to change the culture. We may not be able to turn it around, or as Donald Trump, the president, last time would say, make America great again. We may not be able to make America great again. We may not be able to make Christianity in this culture great again, but we can make celebrations like Christmas and Easter, we can make those meaningful again in our own lives and in the family lives and our churches by simply refusing to go along with every, especially new thing that is thrown into the Christmas mix. I remember a few years ago I was listening to a mix of Christmas songs, seasonal songs, and there were some traditional Christmas spiritual Christian hymns like Silent Night, O Little Town of Bethlehem. There were some traditional Christmas songs, but mostly the mix consisted of these newer songs by pop artists who want to be a part of Christmas, who want to put out music at Christmas time, but their songs have nothing to do with Christmas per se, the birth of Jesus Christ. The only thing that is in common with all of these pop songs, the newer ones at least, is that they use the word Christmas. So you can throw in the word Christmas, Christmas time, and celebrations, holidays. All you have to do is throw in a few key buzzwords, and there you go. You have your Christmas song, and if you have enough of them, you can put together a Christmas album, and then you can sell a lot of music that way, and that's what the celebrities do. But if you think about some of the Christmas songs out there, one of the most popular, I think it was the most popular pop culture Christmas song, is by Mariah Carey, the female vocalist. All I Want for Christmas Is You. It doesn't have anything to do with Jesus Christ. It doesn't have anything to do with the real Christmas, but she uses the word Christmas, and she talks about the holiday season, and she's got the most popular Christmas song out there in our culture today. That just shows you an example. Another one, I think of the old Beach Boys classic, Little Saint Nick. Again, nothing to do with Jesus' birth in the manger in Bethlehem, nothing to do with the biblical Christmas themes found in the Gospels, but it is a song that's played a lot at Christmas time. And you have other pop stars like George Michael, Last Christmas. Again, nothing to do with the spiritual Christmas, the real meaning of Christmas. It's all just a way to make and create music around the holidays. And so as Christians, we can follow along in all of that, or we can say, okay, I know that there is a growing body of music produced by all kinds of pop artists who use the word Christmas in them, but I'm not going to go along with all of that. I'm not going to follow along with that trend. I'm not going to fill my playlist with all of this secular music that uses the word Christmas. I'm going to celebrate the real reason for the season. That's a cliche, but it's an accurate cliche. The reason for the season. Jesus is the reason for the season. And I'm going to celebrate Christmas that corresponds with the real Christmas. And so my music playlist this year will be mostly filled with gospel, Christian, real, authentic Christmas music. Hymns, Christian hymns, contemporary Christmas music that actually reflects the message of the birth of Jesus Christ. I'm going to fill my head and my emotions with music that actually is corresponding to the season, the Christmas season, and not just some excuse to put out holiday music by some pop artist. And these pop artists, they crank these out. It's almost like an assembly line. They crank out almost every single contemporary artist has to have a Christmas album. And if they're big enough and they've been around long enough, they actually crank out 2 or 3 of these Christmas albums. And they'll sneak in a lot of the secular music. And some of it's good. I mean, I'm not totally against all non-gospel, non-biblical Christmas music. For example, the popular song, I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. Hey, it's a great song. And there's no problem with that if you have a few of those mixed in to the Christmas mix. But if you are now, the way it is, if you listen to the radio stations that play nonstop Christmas music, you will find that every year there's a more and more and more and more dominated by the secular Christmas music. And the traditional biblical spiritual meaning of Christmas, while it's there, it's being pushed aside and marginalized, which is very much in corresponding with Christianity in the culture that we live in. Christianity today is being pushed further and further and further to the margins. And you see this, one of the symbols of that was most dramatically given to me was when I was visiting Las Vegas. And you go down the Las Vegas Strip, see these massive hotels and casinos, but where are the churches? So is Las Vegas oblivious to spiritual need? No. Is Las Vegas not in need of salvation from Jesus Christ? They are as much as anyone else. But they have pushed the churches and they push Christianity to the margins. And if you go down the strip, you will be lucky to find visible one single church. There is a huge, large Catholic modern cathedral, modern church building on the strip, but you won't see that unless you really are looking for it. It's off the strip a block or so, but at least you can actually see that from the strip. I think that's the only church building that I actually could observe from Las Vegas Boulevard. And so that's a symbol of how our society is marginalizing Christianity. It's basically just slowly but surely pushing Christianity and the values of the Bible to the extremes, to the uttermost limits of the boundaries. And so that's what's called marginalization in sociological terms. And that's what we see also happening at Christmas time with the Christmas music. So one of the ways that we can really celebrate Christmas and remind ourselves of the reason for the season is to make sure that we don't fall into that. To make sure that we play plenty of the actual Christmas theme in our music that we play, and not get sucked into this secular trend where all you do is put the word Christmas in a song and there you go, that's a Christmas song. No, that doesn't make it a Christmas song. That makes it a Christmas holiday song, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But Christmas songs are about Christmas, and Christmas is about Christ, who was born in the manger of Bethlehem to save us from our sins. Now, another trend in our society is to make Christmas into something other than it is. I was just listening to a politician the other day who was trying to use Christmas as a means by which to, I guess, make a political statement about opening the borders up to anyone who wants to come into our nation. She was trying to make Christmas into that. She was saying something to the fact that why would we exclude anyone from our nation at our borders when the whole point of Christmas is to recognize marginalized people and bring them into the community of the whole. And I thought, no, that's not the meaning of Christmas. This politician was trying to stretch the meaning of Christmas as meaning that we're supposed to love the outsider and to bring them into the community, the whole community. And that might be a good theme. I think there is something of that in the Bible in some passages where we're not to exclude people unfairly. We're not to discriminate or judge people or look down on people who are not in the group. And that's taught in Scripture. We're to love our neighbor as ourself and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You can find the theme of not excluding people all throughout the Scripture, given the context, though, and not just a general blanket statement, but given the context of people who are in need, and we're to open our hands to those in need. But that is not the main point or even a sub-point of Christmas. And so this politician trying to make Christmas into a, you might call it, immigration policy. And you will find that a lot happening in our secular culture, where the secular world will actually take Christian themes, they'll take biblical themes, and in this case, they're taking a traditional holiday Christmas theme, and they're using it to push a political, ideological agenda, ripping it right out of the context of Jesus' birth in Bethlehem and making it about immigration. And This, again, is a misappropriation of the holiday of Christmas, but it happens all the time in our secular world. We saw, for example, the commercial retailers using Christmas time as a way to make most of their sales. I think retailers make at least half of their total yearly sales during the holiday season between Thanksgiving and the New Year. So they're pushing an agenda, and they're calling it Christmas time, and they're calling it the holidays, which is just another way of saying holy day. Holiday is a shorthand way of saying holy day. So you can't get around the spiritual aspect of it. But what they're doing is they're taking the holy day of Christmas and they're, of course, and we've heard this all before, commercializing it. They're trying to use it to make money. And there's nothing wrong with making money, because if you're a business owner, you have to make money or else you'll go bankrupt. If you're a employee at a factory or an employee of any other business, you're going to have to make money in order to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, to pay your food, to pay transportation. So there's nothing wrong with making money. It's just taking Christmas as an opportunity and exploiting the holiday and trying to convince people that this is what it's all about. The buying and the purchasing and the gift giving and going into debt and overspending in the whole thing. That's what Christmas is about. That's changing the meaning of Christmas into something that is more akin to, you might call it, they have these, for example, at some of these stores where shopping spree, they're called, where you take a big cart and you run through the store and you see how many items you can stuff in the cart within, say, 5 minutes or so. And that's what some retailers seemingly are doing with Christmas. They're trying to say it's really a big shopping spree. So you need to get ready, get geared up, get your credit cards all ready to go. Expand that credit limit if you can. Get your fingers ready. Get them primed for Amazon, and get online and do all kinds of shopping and get in those malls and get the shopping done. And they're pushing that. The worst example of that is, I think it was Cadillac, where they had a commercial on television and they showed the husband giving his wife a brand new Cadillac for Christmas with a big bow out in the driveway. And so she wakes up on Christmas morning and he takes her out to the driveway. There's a new Cadillac. I mean, that is the epitome of commercialization of Christmas. On Christmas morning, it's the birth of Jesus, and then we give these huge, fantastic gifts that put us into debt for the next, not only the whole year, but years and years ahead in the future. Now, one of the trends that's taking place in actual Christianity and the church is taking Christmas, if it falls on, say, a Saturday or a Sunday, if it falls on the weekend, taking Christmas and taking the regular scheduled church service on Sunday morning or on Saturday evening and actually canceling that and having church on Friday night. So you're actually having church on Christmas Eve, and or if Christmas falls on Sunday, you're having church on the eve of Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve, and clearing out the weekend, clearing out Sunday for family time. Now, there is some positive merit in doing that because it gives people time to be with their families, of course, but there are so many drawbacks to that I really think that it's not a really good practice. You're actually changing the church schedule and you're bumping Sunday morning church, the gathering of Christians together, you're bumping that to 2 days before Christmas in some cases. And then you're assuming that the people that go to the church will just love this and think this is the greatest idea. But here's the problem. All the people in the church don't have these families, loving families that gather all weekend long and celebrate Christmas together and have all of the relatives come over and so on and so forth. A lot of people don't or can't afford to travel, and or they don't have these big family gatherings. And so going to church on Sunday or going to church on Christmas Eve is important to them, even if it is on Christmas Day. You know, if church falls on Christmas Day, Sunday, hey, that's a great time to go to church. It really sets the season right when you're actually attending to and remembering and singing about and hearing about and praying and worshiping God on the day of the holy day, the holiday. So what some churches are doing is actually canceling the holy day in favor of the holy day, which makes no sense. It's mixing things up. In a secular society, though, it makes good sense because then it allows the people to do whatever they want to do on the weekend, and they can travel and they can have festive partying and all kinds of things, and they don't have to worry about church, and they don't have to get themselves ready for church, and they don't have to worry about driving to church or scheduling church or anything like that. But you know, since when is going to church on Christmas a pain in the neck or a bother or a trouble? I mean, on one perspective, it's a great thing if Christmas falls on Sunday, because then you have a perfect way to celebrate Christmas Day. Because after all, you have to remember, Christmas Day is about the Lord Jesus Christ. It's not about family getting together. As much as we want to promote families, and the church, the modern church, has to be reminded of this over and over again. I remember seeing so many churches that have renamed themselves, and now they call themselves a family church. Oftentimes right in the name. I'm thinking of a specific church called Family Church. I'm also thinking of a church that said, for example, in Colorado, the large New Life Church, it says New Life Church, a family community or family church underneath the title. And so if you, for example, if you listen to Focus on the Family every day, you might get the impression that Christianity is all about family. It's all about the father and the mother and the children. But that would have been a shock to Paul, who definitely wrote a lot and taught a lot and promoted the family, but it wasn't all Christianity was about. In fact, Paul was a single man. So it's hard to imagine that Paul would have named a Christian community Family Church. It's hard to imagine that he would have emphasized family over Christ, family over Christmas, if he were celebrating Christmas. And so some of these churches, in an effort to make it convenient for families to get together on Christmas, they're actually taking the holy out of holiday. And they say, well, we'll just celebrate Christmas 2 days before Christmas. You're scheduling around Christmas. You're scheduling around the very day that we should be remembering is about Christ. You know, instead of seeing Christmas on Sunday as a problem, why not see Christmas on Sunday as a great blessing? Because in one fell swoop, you can remind people powerfully, dramatically, that this is about Jesus and his birth. And so on Christmas Day, a priority would be to get ourselves together and assemble for public worship. Very appropriate, very appropriate. But if you start scheduling around Christmas and saying, well, we're not going to meet on Christmas because we want to have time for our families, you are basically making the actual holiday second place to the family gatherings of Christmas. And again, this is losing the main reason for the season. Another rival to Jesus Christ on his own birthday is family gatherings. Now, we gather to celebrate Jesus Christ, but if you cancel church on Sunday morning, which is Christmas morning sometimes, then you are bumping Jesus and his worship in favor of the family, which is, I don't know, it may be almost idolizing the family, making it into an idol. And that is the problem in some quarters of Christianity today, evangelicalism, because they've made family almost more important than the actual church as described in the Bible. And they've done that because they've lost focus. Now, there's nothing technically wrong with canceling church on Sunday morning because it falls on Christmas, or canceling Christmas Eve service because it falls on a Saturday and you want to clear the weekend for family activities. But you are saying something by doing that, and you are putting families first by doing that. And you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what that symbolizes. And so I'm not a big fan of bumping church for family or for travel or for convenience or for scheduling. I'm not in favor of moving church around and canceling a Sunday church service to help people do some secondary thing, which is to gather for families. Yeah, it's a little more inconvenient when you have to get up and go to church on Sunday morning to worship the Lord, and then you visit relatives and family and friends, and then you have the Christmas dinner after the church on Sunday morning. You have the Christmas dinner in the afternoon, but that's doable. That's doable. That's no big problem. So we have to be careful in these little subtle ways how we are taken in by all the other things that are happening at Christmas time. And so easy to forget about the reason for the celebration and start celebrating the celebration. Even these good things like getting together with families, traveling, visiting, and so forth, socializing. All these are good things in and of themselves, but when we begin to put them above the actual worship and celebration of Jesus Christ, then we need to question that. And as Christians, we need to buck the trend of our secular world and maintain the focus on Christ. And we need to do that because as Christians, we bear witness to the truth. So we can't get sucked into what the world is doing. They may be getting off on tangents and forgetting about the reason for the season, but we certainly cannot. Well, I hope that's been a helpful commentary, and we'll see you back next week on another edition of Christian Answers. God bless.